Now, every day seems to be an awareness day or an action day for something or other, but sometimes we hear about something that's so important and affects so many lives that we feel we have to do something to reflect it, which is why I want to talk about dementia. Maybe you've seen a friend or relative affected by it. One Exeter woman feels so passionately about it, she's devoted much of her life to trying to make things better. Her name is Gina Awad, and Gina's a dementia campaigner and author, and she's just been selected as one of 20 UK authors to appear in a new specialist literary collection, as she's been telling me.
I used to visit care homes with my grandmother when I was 8 and my sister was 7, and she used to do creative arts with the residents. And what I was more attuned to, if you like, even at that young age, which is 46 years ago, was not the residents who were engaging with the creative arts, but those that weren't. And those that weren't at the time appeared to be lonely, disconnected, fearful, isolated. And I then found out years later that they were actually living with advanced dementia. And I didn't link into all of that, but that was the catalyst when I started doing my my Open University degree in 2011. One of my modules was dementia care, and it set me on a mission. And then people used to ask me exactly that question, Caroline, why are you so passionate? And it wasn't because at the time I'd been affected by somebody who'd lived with dementia in my family or close to me. It was those memories of my childhood when I was in care homes and my nan.
Tell us about the book you wrote with the cartoonist Tony Husband.
Yeah, so 2 years ago we had our book published called United Caring for Our Loved Ones Living with Dementia. So Tony illustrated it. He sadly is no longer with us. He died very tragically in October last year, which makes this whole initiative that I'm going to talk about even more important and warm, but also very bittersweet.
And now you've been selected as only one of 20 authors to have been taking part in this new literary collection. Is that right?
Yeah, so basically what it is, Caroline, is it's the Reading Agency are a charity that were formed in 2013, and they're actually funded by the Arts Council, and they have lots and lots of different initiatives, and one of them is the Reading Well on Prescription. So they have a number of, they have 3, I think, strands of books. So they've got long-term health conditions, teenage mental health, and dementia, and they published a book list in 2015, which consisted of 35 books, I believe. And then over the last 2 years, they wanted to consult and reach out to people, with the lived experience as well as professionals and charities, and create a new list. And that new list comes out today. It's launched at the House of Commons today. There's 20 authors. Actually, Tony features twice with his other book called Take Care, Son. And then Wendy Mitchell is also on there, who sadly died a couple of months ago. And she was an amazing advocate and lived with dementia for about 10 years. So there's 20 books, 21 in Wales, and they will basically be in every library in England and Wales. So it's so exciting.
I was going to say, you must be chuffed to pieces. It's fantastic. What a great thing to get involved with.
It is. It really is. And I think what's really important is the fact that the books were selected. It was co-produced with a brilliant organisation called Innovations in Dementia, and they co-produced it. So they made sure that people with the lived experience were at the heart of all the selection of books. So it makes it extra special, definitely. And to know that they're going to be in every library in England and Wales is so exciting, Caroline. It really is.
Are you going to go round and cheekily sign a few?
Yes. So, I think it's exciting. I'm able to take my sister with me to the House of Commons, actually. It'll be at the House of Commons because I dedicated my book to her. So I've managed to wangle for her to come along as well. But I think what's great about the books is they're in subcategories. So there's personal accounts. There's also, understanding of the condition, along with resources for carers and age-appropriate books for children as well, which so it's got everything covered, really.
How is the collection going to make a difference, do you think?
Well, I'm just reading a little bit from here because I think it's important to get it right. It says understanding and knowledge of dementia via high quality book-based information and advice can play an important role in supporting people affected by dementia, particularly in the context where 1 in 2 will be affected by dementia in their lifetime. Reading Well for Dementia provides an up-to-date resource that reflects national clinical guidelines, best practice, advice and support. And I think, there's so many resources out there. If for people that get a diagnosis, it's totally overwhelming for them and for their families. And it's like, where do you start? And you get some information post-diagnostic support, but to know that there's a sort of a curated, sort of well-selected group of resources that can help, at least you know where to go to straight away, rather than have to find things and resources by default, which that's the last thing you want to do when you've had a diagnosis of dementia.
How did you find writing the book? Did it take you a while?
Yeah, the book. I mean, we actually did it through the pandemic, Tony and I. So we, I suppose, in total, probably a couple of years, because our particular book is focused on 6 true family carer stories and 1 composite story. The composite story is something that I created, and that's Sienna's story. And the reason I created that is because when we collated all the family stories, they touched on certain things and some of them overlapped. And I thought, well, what's missing here? So I wanted to include things in that story around young onset dementia, which is where anyone diagnosed under 65 is living with dementia. And there's seven types of rare dementia as well. So that sort of covers young onset dementia. And I also wanted to touch on planning ahead and dying in place and having conversations about power of attorney and death, they're important, necessary conversations. So Tony and I worked together. He was up in Manchester through the pandemic. I was down in Exeter. We managed to, after a lot of sort of work and searching and things, found individual families and worked with each family one by one. And then I just asked curious questions and they gave some great feedback. And I think the challenge was then having all that incredible information and then editing it down to something that really meant something to the families and got to the heart of the story, but also not wanting to miss out anything that was really important that they shared. And then, of course, Tony would draw some pencil images. I would create some narrative. We'd look at that together, and then we'd send out that draft to each family, which was very enlightening how it was received. And we learned a lot about it. A lot about ourselves, a lot about dementia, and a lot about the great support that families are sometimes challenged with, as well as their obviously family member that is living with the disease.
I hope you have a wonderful time in London. It's going to be great, I bet, to meet other like-minded people and the people involved in it too.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's going to be about 80 to 100 people. There will be some of the authors, obviously the media. So I've never been to the House of Commons inside before. So I'm looking forward to that experience.
Enjoy. It's great.
Is
Go
it?
and have a wander. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm more looking forward to it now, Caroline. Thank you.
Oh, Jean, it's been good to talk to you. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Well done to ex-dementia campaign and author Gina Awad there.